Well, it's certainly possible. I mean, obviously guys are throwing out smoke signals and decoys and all that stuff. But if it happens, I'm here for it. I think it could be one of the best things for Shedeur. I mean, if he ends up, if he goes to Cleveland, all right, I'm not going to say he's doomed, but Cleveland has had one franchise-level quarterback this century, and they mishandled it, Baker Mayfield.
Wow. Thanks for finally saying that about Baker.
I mean, Baker had a really nice rookie. I agree. Bottom line, and I like OBJ, but OBJ just ruined his chances there, and they took OBJ's side. Since then, I mean, the only one close, Vinny Testaverde a little bit, but really the only long-time franchise quarterback they had was Bernie Kosar in the 80s, and he wasn't, awesome. He was good. And then you got the only Hall of Fame quarterback is Otto Graham. So that is not necessarily a great situation. Maybe Shedeur goes there and turns it around, but that's not great. All right. The Giants, I would like him there. I've said that's where I'd like to see him. And they're a good, solid franchise, but they could lose their GM and coach going into his second year. So now he's got a whole new regime to get used to. If he goes, look, I said last week, if I'm Shedeur, I don't want to go to Vegas behind Geno. If I'm Geno, I don't necessarily want Shedeur there. But that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Seattle at 18 wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. I know Darnold's there, but that deal is kind of like a one-year deal. And Pittsburgh, obviously, at 21 would be a good, stable franchise to go to. So I don't think if Shedeur slides, he should not look at it as, unless he, slides ridiculously to the latter rounds.
Well, not latter rounds, but if we throw up the picks, the thing is this. Tennessee has to get a quarterback.
Yep.
The only other two teams that have to get a quarterback, or three teams, pardon me, are the Browns, the Giants, and the Steelers. That's it. Everyone else has already hired their stopgap or traded for a guy.
But if you have a stopgap, it's a stopgap.
No, I understand, but my point is, they don't have to. If they don't love the player, they won't take him because it's not like we're like, who's going to play for us? If Rodgers does, and he seems to really wield a lot of power here, sign with the Steelers before the draft under the agreement, like, I am your quarterback for this year. One of the things that I have started to wonder is, do the Browns / the Giants feel like we can pass on Shedeur and still get Shedeur?
Really?
Not because he's there at pick 34 and 35, but because if they take Abdul Carter at 2 and Travis Hunter at 3, and then once you get, to pick 16, 17, 18, could the Giants or the Browns be like, hey, we'll give you the 34th pick and next year's 2 to move back up and get him? And that actually is, I think, Brew, oddly, kind of the worst case scenario for Shedeur based on what you're painting, which is you end up going to this kind of dysfunctional franchise and you don't get the top 3 pick money or any of that. It is a weird year because so many quarterbacks went in the first round last year. And then you have Geno and Darnold changing teams, Russ signing. That's 10 teams that a year ago thought they needed a quarterback that now feels set. And so I do think a real slide, if he gets past 3, is very, very possible. I think Pittsburgh would take him if they haven't signed Rodgers yet.
Yeah, I think.
But I don't know. They're trying to give Rodgers a deadline to figure that out, so I don't know that piece of it.
Yeah, there's a real possibility that he'll slide. I think Pittsburgh will take him if they got Rodgers. If they didn't have Rodgers, I think he would still be on the table for them because they would be looking at Aaron Rodgers as a true one-year guy, and that would be resolving their issues moving forward. But when you look at Cleveland, and Cleveland is the one that I think is more realistic, even more so than the Giants, because Cleveland has probably the toughest decision of the teams that actually need a quarterback. Because you will have Abdul Carter on the board. Yeah. And you will have an opportunity to pair him with already one of the best, if not the best pass rusher in the game. and solidify your defense for years versus, okay, do we take a shot on a guy that we don't know if he's going to be the starting guy right now this year. He might be a work in progress. We don't know how it's going to look moving forward, but we miss out on a guaranteed guy. That's the issue with when you look at the Cleveland Browns. That's why I think the Cleveland Browns are probably going to pass on him. And then when you look at the Giants, they just signed 2 guys. I know it almost makes no sense for them to go and get Jameis Winston, Russell Wilson, and then say, you know what, matter of fact, let's add Shedeur instead of continuing to build out their roster. And you got coaches' jobs on the line this year. Right. Like this year. That's why I feel like he'll slide. And if he does slide, the best situation for him is probably Pittsburgh.
Can I ask about that? Why do we think Pittsburgh has the infrastructure to develop a quarterback? Who involved with the Pittsburgh Steelers have done that? Like
I get their offense.
Their offense, like it's just that part of it is to me an odd one, where it's like, oh, Pittsburgh's a great franchise. Don't get me wrong, and I think Tomlin is a great NFL head coach. But if I am talking about developing a quarterback that we think is not necessarily like plug and play, immediate NFL ready, like it seems like there are some concerns with Shedeur. Not that he's not NFL style, but just a raw prospect. I don't know that Pittsburgh's a great spot for him.
So I would say Pittsburgh because of the culture. It's not just about the play caller or who's going to be in the quarterback room. I know that's very important, but when you have stability from the top down, that is even more important. And then you have the players that can support what he needs from a skill position perspective. So that's why I like the Pittsburgh Steelers. They know who they are. They always go into a season with an identity of what they want to be, what they want it to look like. And if he's the guy that can fit in there and plug and play, and we just see what it looks like with DK and George, some of those guys, the personality, I like.
Can I ask you another question, Greg? All of the number 1 quarterbacks started week 1 except Drake May, who came in week 6. JJ obviously was hurt.
And Penix.
And Penix, yes. You were talking about when the Jets, about like what they're going to try to do with Aaron Rodgers. Maybe like they're like, we should bench him. Like he's not going to want to be benched. If Shedeur is there and Aaron Rodgers is struggling, and it starts to like, hey, we should bench Rodgers. We should like make the move. It feels like that would be very combustible.
I don't think Tomlin would do it. We're talking about if he ends up with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
You have Shedeur and Aaron Rodgers on the same team.
He was battling this decision this past season with Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. And so, I don't think you bring on a guy like Aaron Rodgers and say, hey, if he's struggling and it just looks terrible. Now, if it looks terrible, then yeah. But if he's just struggling, you're going to give him a run.
He's got all year.
Yeah, you're going to give him the complete run.
Can I just get on the record on something? There is nothing I am more confident about than if the Pittsburgh Steelers roll into this season with a wide receiver room of DK Metcalf and George Pickens and a quarterback room of Aaron Rodgers and the most popular, famous rookie quarterback of the draft. That ain't going to end well.
No.
There is no chance that ends well. The idea that is not going to be a media circus and some weird passive-aggressive Aaron Rodgers stuff going on, we're out of our minds. Like, so if they sign Rodgers, they can't draft him. They can't.
Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown, Ben Roethlisberger. Like, Tomlin has been a master at handling these tough personalities that when they went elsewhere, it blew up.
Yeah,
I think it would be okay.
Aaron has not been a master at that. And
no,
Aaron has not been involved in that.
But I think
that would not work.
Tomlin could.
That would not work.
We'll see.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.